Hi, this is William Foster, and I would like to welcome you to U.S.-China Cyber Relations. This is the first video in a series of weekly videos about how the internet is changing and bringing together two civilizations that have been apart for thousands of that have been apart, one for thousands of years and one for maybe just 200 years, the United States. And basically the internet changes things, and we could call it U.S.-China international relations, but in fact, in a certain sense, cyber has introduced a variable that changes international relations theory. So we are not we are not looking at or just assuming the old view of a nation state actually holds in this view where everything is on the network. So one of the interesting things about this class is that U.S.-China cyber relations could change radically any day during the semester. And so one of the things that we are going to be doing is we are going to be watching the internet every day, and I will be feeding you things that are happening in the relationship between the U.S. and China. So that may be a little unusual, but basically I hope you feel comfortable not only getting fed stuff by me, but doing your own searching on the internet by setting up Google alerts for things like China and cyber, or something like China and world finance, or China and U.S. Cyber war, things like that. And basically hoping that you not only search the internet for us, but you share what you find with us, so that this is very much a collective, let's do it a day at a time type class. I think it makes it exciting. A case in point is the statement of President Xi on December 16th that I have given you in the discussion questions. If you are watching this video and don't have access, I trust that you have read or heard President Xi's translation either in Chinese or in English of his statement at the opening of the ceremony of the Second World Internet Conference, of which you can pull up a English translation just by Googling President Xi at the opening ceremony of the Second World Internet Conference. There are a number of translations on the internet. The one that I had given you was the one done by the embassy. In fact, the embassy put it up on the internet, shows how important they thought it was. And so basically what I would really want you to do is discuss in the discussion board what you like and dislike, and what you trust and what you distrust about what President Xi's vision of the internet should be like. As I can say, it's not necessarily true that the U.S. government totally agrees with President Xi, and I'm sort of interested in what you think the U.S. President Obama would disagree with, or is not willing to sign an agreement, or especially a treaty, with the Chinese to implement President Xi's vision of the internet. Another major milestone in U.S.-China cyber relations took place last summer when President Xi and President Obama met and agreed to stop economic espionage against each other. This was not, of course, an agreement to stop the cyber war that's currently going on, or cyber espionage, just that basically President Obama was to get President Xi to agree that Chinese hackers could not, especially government-supported Chinese hackers, would not steal economic information and give it to competitors of American companies that are in China. So on one hand, we're talking about things that change day to day, and yet on the other hand, it's really important to see the internet as part of 5,000 years of how China has used writing as a way of building an empire, and learning and developing rules that have been tried, that have failed, that have tried again, on basically how to tie together an empire by using writing and reading, and using a script that everybody in the whole country can understand, even though they speak tens of thousands of different languages, and so, or at least dialects the dialects were not comprehensible, but everyone could read the same writing. So the emperor had one way of communicating at once to the whole empire, and whether that was for war, whether that was for economic measures, whether that was for economic documents, whether that was for setting up rules. So for China, writing has a lot to do with empire, and in many ways, some people would argue, why has China allowed the internet? And I think it's very clear the reason they have allowed the internet is that they believe that it will allow the Communist Party to build the kind of empire, they wouldn't say the word empire, but it really is an empire, and basically allow the central government to distribute power to the provinces and the municipalities and to people, and yet keeping control. So there's a certain degree of control and communication that the Chinese have always assumed for the past 20 years as they're building the internet, that we in America are highly ambivalent about. We are not at all sure that we as Americans believe that the most important thing of the internet is to allow the federal government to control us. So there's a real dialectic, and so when you read President Xi's statement this week and look at it, you sort of really look at what's the real value of the internet to President Xi? Is it freedom, like he says, or is it more the ability for the Communist Party to stay in control as they decentralize the society and move it into a more capitalistic, or sort of a capitalistic communist? So we have a very interesting thing. We have, between the US and China, we have what I call friend enemies. They're our friends, we've invested in each other's economies, we're dependent on each other, and yet there are great tensions. And people don't want to talk about those tensions, but I hope by the end of the semester you'll have a good handle on what the tensions are between the US and China, and opportunities for cooperation and maybe coexistence. So if you have any questions at all, this is a YouTube video, so email me or feel free to call me. Anyway, I'm really excited about this class. I hope you are too. Sei zhen, which means, and say she, thank you, goodbye, and let's stay in touch. Take care, bye.